The wheel has stopped turning, at least on screen. With the official cancellation of The Wheel of Time Season 4, fans are left staring at a pattern cut short. No demise wells, no cleansing of Sidene, no final confrontation between light and shadow, and no farewell for the heroes who've grown, bled, and broken across 3 intense seasons. But while this chapter may be closed, the journey isn't over. The fandom remains. The cast still believes, and the story, rooted in one of the richest worlds in fantasy literature, endures. So, what happens now? Let's explore what comes next for the Wheel of Time community, its characters, and the future of this mythic series. The fandom's role has never mattered more. Now that the show is no longer an active production, the responsibility of keeping the Wheel of Time alive shifts almost entirely to its fans. And that isn't a burden, it's a power. Across the history of genre fiction, fan bases have resurrected beloved stories through campaigns, letters, petitions, and relentless passion. The Expanse, Lucifer, and Young Justice all found new life because their audiences refused to let them fade. Already we're seeing the seeds of that movement. The hashtag #SaveWheelOfTime is gaining traction across social platforms. Fans are organizing outreach to Amazon, Netflix, and HBO. Petition pages have emerged, some gathering tens of thousands of signatures. But beyond that, fan art, essays, lore breakdowns, and watch parties are creating a renewed sense of unity. For those who love this series, whether from the books or the show, now is the time to amplify, to create, to educate new audiences. Because when enough voices demand the wheel to turn again, someone may finally listen. The cast remains loyal, and that matters. One of the most uplifting outcomes of the Wheel of Time's cancellation has been the solidarity of its cast. Rosamund Pike, Moiraine, Daniel Henney, Lan, Josha Stradowski, Rand, Zoe Robbins, Nynaeve, and Madeline Madden, Egwene, have all expressed deep gratitude for the experience, and a hope that the story may continue. This is no small thing. In television, cast commitment often determines whether a revival is even possible. The fact that these actors still believe in the show and are willing to return if given the chance gives Wheel of Time a unique advantage in the crowded landscape of unfinished series. Moreover, the cast's continued presence in interviews, fan meetups, and social engagement can help keep the momentum alive. The pattern may fray, but their belief in the world they've built is part of what keeps it spinning. Unfinished storylines that deserve completion. One of the most painful elements of the show's abrupt end is what it leaves behind. Storylines filled with promise, halted mid-arc. Rand al'Thor had only just begun to step fully into his role as the Dragon Reborn. His internal battle with madness, his growing detachment, and his preparation for the last battle were on the verge of reshaping him into the man we know from the novels. Egwene's transformation into the Emerald Seat had barely started. Viewers were beginning to see glimpses of her uncompromising strength and political savvy. Her confrontation with the White Tower's rigid hierarchy was still ahead, a confrontation that defines her entire arc in the books. Nynaeve had shattered her block, faced trauma, and found power through pain, but her greatest acts, especially her critical role in the cleansing of Sidene, were still unwritten on screen. And Matt Cawthon, still emerging from darkness, was destined to become the unwilling general, the gambler who defies fate itself. Each of these arcs carried emotional momentum, and now, unless revived or reimagined in another medium, they remain unfinished. That's the ache fans carry, not just that the show ended, but that it stopped just before the characters became legendary. Film, animation, and miniseries. While the cancellation of The Wheel of Time Season 4 closes one path, it doesn't end the journey. This is a world rooted in rebirth and renewal, concepts that, fittingly, apply to television and storytelling too. If Amazon won't move forward with a full season, there are still other forms this saga can take. And each comes with its own potential to honor the story, the fans, and Robert Jordan's vision. The first and most realistic option is a limited-run film or mini-series, designed to bring closure to unfinished arcs. It's been done before with great success. Firefly lived on in the critically acclaimed film Serenity, which wrapped key plots while allowing the characters and themes to breathe. For Wheel of Time, this could mean a 2- or 3-part special, focusing on critical events like Dumas Wells. one of the most iconic moments in fantasy fiction history. A moment where Rand seizes control of his destiny, where the White Tower fractures, and where the cost of power finally comes due. These focus specials wouldn't require the full scale of a full season, but could deliver narrative payoffs that fans have waited decades to see. Then, there's animation, a medium often overlooked for adult fantasy but increasingly proving its strength. Netflix's Castlevania and Arcane both demonstrated that animation can handle mature themes, rich lore, and operatic action with style and gravitas, adapting the final books of the Wheel of Time into animated format, especially episodes covering metaphysical, visual-heavy moments like the cleansing of Syene or Rand's final encounter with the Dark One, could free the show from the budgetary constraints of live action. It would also allow a stylized, dreamlike approach to Jordan's most abstract storytelling, which many fans have said might be better suited to animation in the first place. Lastly, there remains the long shot but still possible route, a continuation or reboot on another platform. We've seen it before. The Expanse was rescued by Amazon. Manifest found a second life on Netflix. The key to such revivals is visibility and passion. If the cast remains supportive and if fans make enough noise, another streaming service might view the Wheel of Time IP as worth reclaiming, especially given its ready-made global audience and complete source material. Whether it's a reboot that starts fresh or a continuation that uses a time jump or new format, the pattern is flexible enough to allow it. And it wouldn't take much: a passionate streamer, a bold creative, a cast that still believes, a fandom that won't give up. These threads could still be drawn together to finish what Season 3 started. Turning to the books. For fans who came to the Wheel of Time through the show alone, now may be the perfect time to explore the full saga in its original form. Robert Jordan's novels, finished by Brandon Sanderson after Jordan's passing, are vast, rich, and emotionally complex. Every thread left unfinished in the series, from Rand's fate to the full history of the Forsaken, is given closure, often with surprising depth. The books not only finish the story, they expand it. Characters like Min, Loghain, Aviendha, and Elaine become more layered. The intricacies of the One Power, the true cost of prophecy, the final decisions of the Creator and the Dark One. These are all explored in unforgettable ways. And for those who've already read the series, a reread now offers fresh perspective. Watching the show first, and then diving into the books, lets readers appreciate what was adapted, what was changed, and what was only ever possible in prose, preserving the legacy of Jordan's work. Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time isn't just a book series. It's a cultural achievement in fantasy literature. Spanning over 4 million words in 14 main books, it remains one of the most detailed and thematically ambitious stories ever written. Its television adaptation, though incomplete, introduced this world to new generations. And even in Cancellation, the legacy of the show adds value. It helped demystify a previously unfilmable epic and prove that audiences are hungry for deeper, slower, character-driven fantasy. For longtime fans, preserving that legacy means ensuring that the adaptation's work doesn't fade from memory. That includes revisiting what the show did right: the complex portrayal of Moraine's quiet sacrifices, the visceral grief of Nynaeve's Arch's trial, the early haunting presence of Ishamael. These moments captured the spirit of Jordan's world, even if the entire journey didn't reach the end. What comes next may be books, podcasts, lore discussions, or even new adaptations in the years ahead, but the show lit a torch, and now the fandom carries it forward. A fandom that will continue to weave. There's a quiet strength to the Wheel of Time fandom. It's not always the loudest, but it is among the most dedicated in genre fiction. These are readers who've debated tavern theories since the 1990s, who've mapped out every known weave of the One Power, who can quote the Cariarthan cycle from memory. And that kind of fandom doesn't die with a streaming decision. Instead, it reshapes. Already, fan projects are rising. YouTube channels are expanding coverage. Fan fiction is seeing a resurgence. Lore blogs, character essays, and virtual rereads are pulling in new members who may have started with the show and now want to go deeper. This community has always understood that stories outlast their platforms. And if a future showrunner or studio executive is watching, they'll see something crucial. This fandom is not content-hungry, it is lore-literate. It will wait, but it will not forget. Final thoughts. Yes, Season 4 is gone. And with it, so many scenes, so many destinies. But the pattern has not ended. It is shifted. What happens next depends not on a studio's algorithm, but on the love that still burns for this world. That love now lives in fan creations, in old paperbacks passed to new hands, in whispered conversations about Luz Theron, Teleran Riyadh, and the flame in the void. This story is not over. It never was. Because the wheel turns, and it always will.